call the Human Resource Committee to order at 5:01. And if we can introduce ourselves, Shane Blazer, Chairman of HR.
Scott Kellett, Alderperson.
Nope.
Joe Zerflu, committee member.
Nope.
Tom Realm, Alderperson. Sorry.
Zach Rootbeer.
Sue Schultz, City Attorney.
Peter Castanos, Municipal Court Judge.
Kimberly, Municipal Court Clerk.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Pat Kubichek, Alderperson.
Thank you very much. First item is an update on the employment engagement focus groups. Anybody have any information on that?
So they're being scheduled over the latter part of October here, and looks like there's they've been able to fit them into every department. I think the mandatory expectation that we had talked about, I think at our last HR meeting, the departments were able to carve out time and make that happen. So I think the consultant, I believe, will have most, if not all, of that done by the first week in November. I believe is the schedule that they're looking at. So all is going well in that. We've got a breakdown of how they broke it out, but basically it's in the larger departments, of course, there's smaller groups and more groups, but taking administration and keeping the non-management folks out. So every group is going to participate with their peers, and then management will be participating with their peers. Is sort of a high level on the structure. I can share the breakdown if you wish to see that, but that would be the update on the focus group.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Does the committee have any questions or anything? No? Okay, item 3. Sue, can we stay in open session and then hear their side first, or hear the information first, then go into closed session? Because I think we
Sure.
found that last time we were in closed session, and then we came on, and it seemed to take longer.
Or you can get some information from that in closed session
Yeah.
also. I mean, if you, I guess,
Oh, it doesn't
It's
matter.
up
We
to
can do
you
it in closed
whether-
session too.
right.
Oh, we talk in closed session. So, let's see, the committee will vote to go into closed session pursuant to section 19.85, parent 1, parent C of the Wisconsin State Statute, which reads, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. In closed session, the committee will review alignment of the municipal court clerk who currently is not placed in the existing pay grade.
I'm going to go into closed session.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Mr. Zerflu and seconded by Mr. Kellogg to go into closed session. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we have a unanimous vote. So I guess we're in closed session now, and I think everybody can stay. So
The pay grade 5, step 6 on the city's pay scale.
I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion and a second to place municipal court clerk in grade 5, step 6. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, folks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think you made effective after council approval
right.
in a couple weeks.
Right.
Thank you.
No, you can. All right, item 6 is update on HR director recruitment and consideration on a recommendation of intern responsibilities. Mayor?
So the position's been posted. It's out on all of the various platforms, in addition to the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, Job Board, Indeed, LinkedIn, et cetera. I believe it's also on social media or whenever the community media folks get it in their cycle. So if it's not out there yet, I'd expect it whenever they post it. The copy of the posting, if you want a copy, I can have HR email that out so you've got it as well. So talk to your networks folks. I know there's been some folks as the process got started, people are asking when it was going to be posted and that, so it should be everywhere. It's also on the city's website, I forgot that too. And then we had some discussion at a past meeting about the transition and interim, and perhaps it's something that the city may want to consider as appointing or soliciting interest for interim responsibilities to include one, could have been some compensation review if we wanted to include that as part of an interim piece, but certainly on the search and screen process, that having somebody that's not vested in the candidacy for the position, but to be able to solicit their expertise to review and screen the candidates would be a core responsibility that we might want to consider among other special projects and priorities, 2, 3 of them if there's others that we want to consider. I think there's one area of concern that I have that affects our city's workers' compensation and safety initiative. We continue to have issues with this, and it's affecting our mod factor, and therefore it has a budgetary impact. It's last year was not a good year, and this year we've had a number of circumstances. So that could be something we'd want to have somebody assist with developing and restanding up the safety committee that the city previously had prior to the previous incumbent in the position. So it's certainly up to discussion, but that's what I would put on the table if there are some interim responsibilities or assistance we'd like to seek. We don't have anybody in mind necessarily, or any firm that's offered their expertise, but we would draft that scope and put it in front of folks if we wanted to pursue some services or some individual's time or assistance in that area. It'd be I wouldn't think it would be a full-time piece. It would be on a very limited term, temporary engagement type basis. I don't know if Sue has any ideas. That's how we've done it in the past. It's served us well, I think, in terms of just offering some additional external review of candidates, as well as developing the candidate profile for ultimately when we begin the interview process, which would certainly involve council members again and that type of thing.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, can you elaborate on what you just talked about on the safety aspect about our insurance mod going up? I guess
Sure.
because I think you got a couple different things that in your quick narrative here, but you got a couple different things like a hiring committee or someone looking at that, but then you're also suggesting that ultimately when someone is chosen for the position, then internal safety committee is ramped up, or I guess I don't understand.
Sure, I'll clarify. Yeah, so we're actively recruiting for the position, for the vacancy, the vacancies is posted and all that sort of thing. But in terms of the committee's consideration for temporary services, so we have a United Heartland, who's our outsourced safety provider. They come in and do our toolbox talks and our DPW and other departmental safety training. But the group, in some respects, I would say that the safety priority that maybe our HR department has taken on is not performed to par. And somewhat of it's convening meetings and just having United Heartland come in and talk with our departmental leadership staff. But it's also a review of the past safety issues where we've had accident reports and that type of thing. So, on a long-term basis, we want that stood up and to be consistent, to be operating, but it hasn't met consistently, it hasn't met regularly. And not to say that, our safety issues are attributed to just that activity, but it sets that mindset and that tone for city staff on a safety basis. So the idea would be if we were to engage with someone on a temporary basis, we'd probably give them 3 priorities. One being assisting with the search and screen process. A second one, reviewing in some form the safety practices of which the city and some of the policies. I think our policies are probably up to par because United Heartland facilitates some review of that. But in terms of just how are we managing the safety practices at the city, I think is a core area that could be reviewed from an assessment standpoint and then offer some recommendations. And then the third being an idea that's been, it was actually talked about when the Public Works supervisor, the Public Works supervisor.
Director.
No, not the Public Works director. What's that?
Superintendent.
Superintendent, thank you. When that position was reviewed and discussed at the HR committee level, there was a bit of discussion about the alignment within the DPW area. And instead of proposing something in the budget to maybe realign positions, I think we have to assess that. We have to really figure out reporting relationships, and we've faced some realities within the DPW area that after positions 8, 9, 10 years ago were vacated and replaced or not replaced, I think we've had to come to the realization to deal with some of those conflicts that we maybe are understaffed, and maybe it's just a realignment, that maybe it's a net gain of 0, but it's a realignment of reporting responsibilities and positions in general. So that would be another area I would offer, that takes into account parks, it takes into account streets, really all the divisions within Public Works, to engineering, wastewater, to evaluate, again, the structure within DPW, and then something maybe that provides some recommendations. Wouldn't necessarily deal with compensation, but there probably would be some components of review within that. So, and that would be, let's be realistic here. The recruitment process, the soonest we're gonna have a director seated is probably mid-December, right? And that's if we were, had an offer extended to somebody within the next couple of weeks. So it's probably gonna be the first of the year before we seat somebody, ideally sooner, but that's the cycle. So that would be the extent of the engagement, would be over that period of time, perhaps with someone. And I don't know, HR consulting firms or some of the other firms that are out there, even if they have the resources available to offer us a couple of days a week, I don't know that, but that would be what I would pitch to them as a scope.
Oh, I was just looking at the workers' comp insurance modification factor when you mentioned that, because it isn't really directly related to safety per se, it's related to claims. So.
Oh, right.
One that
Sorry, on the workers' comp side.
Yeah, and
yeah.
the easiest way to get the mod reduced is to not have claims.
Right.
Now, I don't disagree that having an increased safety program is beneficial, but although my safety guy would say if I disagreed with the aspect that all accidents are preventable, because that's what safety people say, the accidents are accidents because they happen. Certain things. So some years are good years, some years are bad years, and the insurance mod is based on a 3-year average in a 5-year period. So it's one of those where I think that emphasis can be on safety, but the training of department level management is just as good as having an HR firm that can recommend things, and
Sure.
it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, and I think of it as facilitation, right? And to your point about mod factor, I don't want to overstate, but I can say that the 3 years and the 5-year rolling average has been, our claims have exceeded their previous years in that period. So, from a cost factor, there's an implication. But yeah, I fully agree with that.
And there was a lot of buy-in from the employees, because it was well attended.
And that's good.
There was a lot of buy-in with the committee and people meeting. And
Yeah.
Safety is everybody's responsibility, Joe.
Thank you both. Retain that.
yeah, I'm in favor of getting somebody in to assist a few days a week, especially with helping with recruitment and taking on some of those responsibilities. Because we can't leave it vacant. Any thoughts, Scott? Or?
No, I agree.
So how do we,
It's gonna be 2 months.
do you seek a contract, or how has that been done in the past?
Yeah, we put together a limited, terms of engagement, basically, that would call out these couple of areas we talked about. I don't think we want to get an interim person engaged in much more than that.
Right, yep.
Unless there's some specific policy areas to review in that, but I don't see that being something that would be worthwhile at this stage.
And I think if I recall, we did it as an independent contractor.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I was thinking for some reason that maybe we said they weren't considered a staff member, but no, that was just a
I think it was independent,
contract,
right?
yeah, consulting contract.
So I think, it would be a contractor, whether it's an individual that we're gonna work on that type of basis, or if it is somebody that works with a firm, and bring that agreement back through the process.
I was gonna say, if we need to have a special meeting to get that, let us know, because
Okay.
I think the sooner we can get somebody in that position, in the interim,
Yeah.
to help fill that spot and then take on some of the responsibilities would be good.
Well, I don't think it'd be outside of your scope with the committee here to even have a recommendation for sending out RFPs for consulting services and have that on the council agenda for approval.
Yeah, if you want to do that too.
Because I don't think, although it's a little bit generic, I don't think that there's anything by saying update HR director recruitment, consider a recommendation on the interim responsibilities. I don't think that you would be violating the public's trust if you developed an RFP for that.
Yeah, if you guys want to do that for council, we can get it moving.
Yeah. Do you want to take action to that effect to make that recommendation?
Go ahead.
This is just something that-
I'll make a motion then for, in our, I guess, to put out request for proposals for interim HR director responsibilities. Does that cover it?
I'll second it.
Is the posting out then?
Yes.
That I understood?
Yep.
It is, yeah.
And that's on this website that we can look up and?
Yep.
And then,
Do we, have the duties stayed the same?
Yeah, there were no recommendation or no considered amendments to the job description, so that's why it just went to the posting process, yeah.
all right, we have a motion and a second to have city staff create an RFP for human resource director interim responsibilities. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6 is set official salaries for the upcoming spring term. It's judge,
So-
mayor, and
Yep.
half the council.
Yep. And I don't know, Peter, maybe we can take care of Peter first if you have anything to say on his.
I haven't seen any recommendations, so outside of that, I
Do you want me, I guess the recommendation is to, what he's at now, which is,
do those
or
positions?
what he will be as of January 1, because we'll get a raise January 1 of 2020, so then beginning the term, May 1st of 2020, he would be placed in, along with the clerk, the mayor, and the city attorney, where they just get the automatic cost of livings rather than at the beginning of each term to have to determine for the next 3 years or 4 years what is the, and that is permissible to do it that way. So what I suggest is that the judge then just get the cost of livings on January 1 of each year of the term that the general union or non-union employees receive. And I don't know if Peter has comments on that or.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. I was gonna ask if that was being done currently with that position.
So that would be, actually, I think I have it here, 16,753 would be for the term beginning May 1, 2020. And then the automatic cost of living increase on January 1 of each year with the cost of living given to general non-union.
What was it again, 16?
16,753.
Oh, okay, I had it right. Good, thank you. That'll be the start plus the cost of living increases.
Mhm.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion on each one separately, do you think?
Yeah, why don't we, I think
Okay.
that one, why don't you take care of that one, and then the other two are, I'm not sure how you want to handle those, so if you want to take care of him first, or that position first, I should say, it might not be him. He's got an election, if he's running.
I can make the motion that we set the municipal court judge salary rate at $16,753 beginning January 1, 2020, plus the addition.
Well, it would be
Or-
May 1, 2020.
Oh yeah, May, 'cause that's when your term, yep.
And
May
then-
1.
And then the subsequent January ones, when he would get the, or they would get the cost of living.
Cost of,
increase.
the cost of living increase as the non-union people always. Non-representative people.
I'll second.
That made sense in my babbling. So we have a motion and a second to set the municipal court judge rate at those rates. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we have council and mayor's office. Is that the only other two?
Yep.
I haven't heard anything any different from any. I guess I'll,
This is half one of the.
Or, yeah, you could set it for, it only would apply to the people that are re-elected in
Right.
May,
Yep.
and then it would, then the next slate.
I think we should maybe do them separate, don't you? Being that the mayor's full-time position.
yeah, I just,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether you want to consider an increase or not. I mean, honestly, I wasn't sure who was handling what for this HR committee meeting, so I did spend a lot of time on it. I guess based on for the last, I think 2 years ago, we looked at it and you were pretty, kind of on the top of the pack in terms of pay, or I should say near the top, Matt. So I don't, is that something you want me to
No.
look into?
I personally
And
am
do a
fine.
survey on it and get back to you. I mean, we have time, November at the next council meeting or have a special meeting. I wasn't sure if you wanted that looked at or not.
well, there's 5 of us here. I guess I'm fine with the way our salary's set
For the council?
for the council.
Oh, I would be adamantly opposed to not incur any.
That's why I
increase.
agree. I
Okay.
think
So then it would be the 5, just, retain the 540 or 590?
490.
490, something like this?
I think so somewhere in there.
Yeah.
380. What's that?
I don't have a horse in the race. I don't feel agree with that.
Yeah.
490, yeah.
That's where it's the term NIMBY or whatever, not my term of office, will it ever happen?
All right.
And I guess I haven't heard anything different on the mayor's office.
Yeah, that too. I mean, just from the last time I looked at it, it was below average somewhat, but, it was kind of in the ballpark. I could do that if you want to get those numbers.
I think we should, being that that's a full-time position with benefits.
Well, 2 years ago, you had a specific figure, Sue, so I assume that you knew this on the agenda, so you.
Well, yeah, I mean, usually I guess I was out Thursday and Friday with illness, and I wasn't really my HR agenda, and I guess I tried to put it together as much as I could, and I didn't know whether you wanted to even look at any of that, so,
And I didn't direct HR staff to review these either, so.
I'm personally fine with all the wage rates for,
Do the elected officials, the clerk, the mayor, do they get cost of living adjustments?
yep.
yes.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Right.
And now the judge is in that group too,
Okay.
because that position wasn't.
That makes it a little, I wasn't sure if it's just like there is none, so maybe wage would never change.
Oh, yeah, no, you get cost of living.
And that was adjusted about 5 years ago, too.
And there is adjustments.
That we made, the mayor, and I don't know, on the city clerk or whatever.
I guess I'll make a motion that we leave the rates, the current rates as they are for alderman and mayor.
I'll second.
So a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. So yeah, you don't need to do any reviewing.
Okay.
Interim for the mayor's office, item number 7.
So in the past, we've had interns on various occasions. I have a posting that I'll just pass around for your review. Oops, sorry. The idea is just basically a student intern. Traditionally, we've just had a UWSP student in the area of communications or public policy, political science. It kind of varied in what department they actually, or what concentration their study was focused on. But basically the engagement here, I've got resources in my budget. I didn't use we didn't have a spring intern this year, so this would be the first and only intern that I would propose. they wouldn't obviously be the benefits eligible. Since the budget's not set for next year, we didn't put a range of hours in there because actually the last intern we had only could work about 5 hours a week. So proposed that the internship be about 10 to 15 hours a week, did propose a rate of pay of $12 an hour. When HR did review the pay for these internships, they're everything from unpaid to something even higher than this, but this seemed to be these individuals would generally have to drive to the office, so there's a little bit of an expense involved, I think, to the internship in addition to their time. But the core responsibility within this position would be coordinating some additional work that we're working on within the capital campaign for the Aquatic Center fundraising. There are some other areas that generally they have assisted with and would likely assist with in the future, but that's the new area and the core area. So, like I said, I don't know, depending on what some of the employment opportunities for students now, this is a pretty low rate, and I don't know what sort of caliber of student we get, but generally these students are looking for some work experience, so they've got something on their resume when they're applying for jobs at Wood College. So it'd be likely a sophomore or a junior level internship, not exclusive to UWSP, but either that or Mid-State College.
So you're looking for, is it based on a budgetary amount or a total hours, or it's gotta be less than 600, right?
Yeah, and it'd be far less than that. I think the last intern worked maybe 100 hours total. Yeah. So.
And you have a line in your budget?
I do, yep.
Is it 12? Just to back up on your comment, the $12 an hour is basically what you're
That's what I'm
asking?
proposing,
Okay.
yeah. We paid the last one $11.50 or something like
Okay.
that, so, I mean, trying to be on par with some of the retail, minimum wage stuff. Wages
Right.
have, it seemed like they've gotten into the low teens or a bit higher, but I think this should be fine.
I mean, I'll make a motion to approve the internship for the mayor's office as presented.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second to approve an internship for the mayor's office for $12 per hour. It'll come from the mayor's budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Set next meeting date.
Are we, you wanna stay on like the second Tuesday?
I like
Which I
I like
think is-
Tuesdays.
The election day?
No,
Oh,
first, yeah, it's first Tuesday. No, I mean, I don't think there's anything in the
No, I
fall
don't
this
think
year.
there is.
So November 12th is the next.
It's good for me.
Yeah,
November
me too.
12th, 5 p.m. in first floor conference room. 5 p.m. I met with the mayor last week and we kind of talked about this HR and agendas and all that, and I've kind of had a chance to talk to him since then. But so what I'm thinking is, what I'm going to do is I'll compile the HR agenda. So any items that want to be agended, I'd like to have them the week before, so that first Tuesday. And I'd like to get to the clerk's office by that next day, Wednesday. And I think, I asked her and she said all packet information she likes to have by noon on that Thursday. So then we can get that information. So that's my thought. So if you have any items, send them to me. If I have any items or any knowledge, I'll talk to you guys ahead of time, so it's not, so you just don't see it on the agenda for the first time. And then, so I'll talk ahead of time. But I just would like to get it kind of taken care of and get it to the clerk's office by Wednesday, that first Wednesday. That's my thoughts on that. Sounds good. Okay. So our next item is an open session. The committee will vote to go into closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin State Statute, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public property, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever a competitive or bargaining reason requires a closed session. In closed session, the committee will receive an update and discuss strategy regarding negotiations with IAFF and WRPPA. The committee will adjourn in closed session.
I'll move to go into closed session.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna go later. Don't forget your.
So,
Yeah.